Okay, so we're moving on into data this week, and we're going to do it fast and furious. So you're going to need to watch the videos, keep up, and be ready to move on. So this data table is what we would call a frequency table, okay? It tells you how many times something happened, okay? So the table shows the number of free throws made by 10 players at a basketball practice. So this is the frequency table. Then we're going to put that into a dot plot. And it says which dot plot represents the number of free throws the players made. So we have to look first at our frequency table and kind of identify, here are our players, okay? So we need to identify what kind of table or what kind of number line we're going to need. Okay, so if you look at the answer choices, it's already been decided for you from 3 to 12 because your biggest number is 12, smallest number is 3. Okay, so from 3 to 12, so that's 3. This would be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, same one. 3, 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so all the number lines are exactly the same. So now what we have to do is we have to input all that information. And on a dot plot, all you're really doing is placing a dot for every number. So you start with the top number, 12. So above the 12, I'm going to put a dot. Okay, and then the number 10. I have 1, 2 number 10s. So I'm going to find number 10 on the dot plot. 9, 10, there's 2 of them. 9, 10, there's 2 of them. 9, 10, there's 2 dots. 9, 10, there's no dots. So it has to have 2 dots above it to be plotted. So this one is going to be out. And then we have the number 8. There's 1, 2, 3 number 8s. So you're going to find the number 8 on the number line, and there should be 3 dots above it. So there's 9. So we'll go back 1, and this would be 8. 6, 7, 8. There's 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that one's good. Here's the number 9. Go back 1. There's number 8, and it only has 2 dots. So that one would not be it. There's number 9. Go back 1. That's number 8, and there's only 2 dots. Okay, so basically the dot plot is just taking what you've got in your frequency table and putting it into a number line. So let's look. We should have one number 3. So there's 3. There's 1 dot above it. The number 7 is 1 time. So find the number 7. There's 6, 7. There should be 1 number above it. Then we have a 4. And there's only 1 of them. So 3, 4 should have 1 dot. And then the number 9 should have 1 dot. So that would be a frequency table turned into a dot plot. Okay? So let's look at another one, and I want you to try to answer it with me. And we're going to talk about it too. This is the table shows the heights of 10 seedlings. Which dot plot represents this? These data? This data should be. So we have to look first. Let's look at the whole numbers. So there's the number 2 right there. How many times can we see the number 2 all by itself? Here and here. So the number 2 equals 2 dots. Okay, so let's mark that one out. So now let's look at the next whole number. 1, and there's only 1 of them. So the number 1 has 1 dot. So then we have to look at the ones with the fractions. Okay, so I have 1 1/4, 1 1/4, and that's it. So 1 1/4 should have 2 dots. Okay, so now we're here, 1 1/2. I have 1, 2, 3. So 1 1/2, oops, 1 1/2 should have 3 dots. And that leaves me with 3/4 has 1 dot, and 2 1/4 has 1 dot. So basically all he did is line it out real quick to make it more visually appealing so that you can see it and identify quickly, okay? Otherwise, when you're scanning through, that's when you seem to make, we tend to make mistakes. So if you look at the number lines, though, all the number lines have whole numbers. There's no fractions. So what we need to do is place the fractions. So if this is 0 and this is 1, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 places in between. So that means this would be 1/4, 2/4, which would be 1/2, 3/4. And this would be 1 1/4, 1 1/2, 1 3/4. And then you've got 2, 2 1/4, 2 1/2, 2 3/4. Okay? So 1/4, 1/2, 3/4. 1 1/4, 1 1/2, 1 3/4, and then the number 2. All right, so now what we need to do is we need to go through the number line and figure out, now that we have them all numbered. So the number 2 should have 2 dots above it. So here's the number 2, 1, 2 dots. Here's the number 2, 2 dots. Number 2, 2 dots. Number 2, 2 dots. So that one's all checked out. The number 1 should have 1 dot above it. So there's the number 1, and it has 2 dots. So that one would be marked out. There's the number 1. It has 1 dot. Number 1 has 1 dot. The number 1 has 1 dot. Okay, so we've done that. So now we need to look at, let's do 3/4. There should be 1 dot above the number 3/4. So 0, 1/4, 1/2, 3/4 with 1 dot. 0, 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, 1 dot. 0, 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, no dots. You see how I'm just eliminating? Okay, then let's look at 1 1/4. Okay, so we're between H and G now. So here's 1, here's 1 1/4. It should have 2 dots. This one has 3. So the answer would be G. Okay. Okay, the thickness of the boards Dennis used for a construction project are listed below. These measurements are in inches. Which dot plot represents these measurements? So let's look. We've got 1/4, 1 time. So we can do just like we did before, where we list them all out, or you can figure it out on your board as you go. It really doesn't matter. Okay. I was just trying to show you different ways for you to see it. So if I know that there's only 1/4, there's only one of the 1/4. 1/4 is given to me already, so that's an easy one to find. 1/4, there's 1 dot. 1/4 has 1 dot. 1/4 has 1 dot. 1/4 has 1 dot. Okay. Now let's look at 3/4. So there's 1, 2, 3. 3/4 is also marked on my chart. So I'm going to look. 3/4, there should be 3 dots. 3/4. 1, 2, nope. 3/4, 1, 2, 3. 3/4, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So we have looked at all those. So we're narrowing it down. So now I have a half. There's 1/2, 1/8, 1 5/8, and 1/2. So I have 2 that equal 1/2. So I'm going to find 1/2 on my board. On my number line, 1/2 has 2 dots. 1/2 has 2 dots. So those are both still good. So now I have 1/8, 1, and 5/8. Well, 1 whole is on the board, right? So let's start with 1 whole. 1 whole should have 1 dot. Nope. 1 whole has 1 dot. Okay, so now let's look at 1/8 and 5/8. Well, if this is 1/4, where would I find 1/8. So if you look at it, there's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 jumps between 0 and 1. That means each one of these in between would be 1/8, 2 out of 8, 3 out of 8, 4 out of 8, which is also a half, 5 out of 8, 6 out of 8, 7 out of 8, and then 8/8, which also equals 1 whole. Let me put this one above. So what you have to do is you have to look at your chart, or your number line, I'm sorry, and you see that these are in fours. But if you count all the lines from 0 to 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you see your eighths to help you answer these two questions. So 1/8 should have 1 dot. 2, 3, 4, 5/8 should have 1 dot. So this would have been your answer. All right. This one says the students in a class were each given a set of letters and asked to make words. The dot plot shows the number of students who made from 1 to 7 words. It says what fraction of the students in the class made 5 or more. 5 or more. That means you're including the number 5. So we're looking here. So how many students, how many dots are there? How many students made 5 or more? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 total students, right? But it says what fraction of the students. So you're going to take the 6, that's going to be your numerator, and then you're going to add up all of the students, and that will be your denominator. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So 6 out of 20 students. There's your fraction. 6 out of 20 equals 6/20. Okay, but you notice that that's not an answer choice. A lot of you would have just, a lot of kids would have automatically just gone with F because, oh, 6/20 has 20, same denominator. Okay, but we know that this is an even over an even, which means we have to reduce it. Okay, so we have to reduce 6/20. And to reduce, if you think back to our lessons on reducing fractions, you have to make a T-chart for the two numbers, the numerator and the denominator. 1 times 6 equals 6, and 2 times 3 equals 6. 1 times 20, 2 times 10, and 4 times 5. Those are the numbers that they all have in common. And then we look for the greatest common factor, which is the biggest number they both have in common. Okay, so they both have a 2, and that's the biggest number they both have in common. They also both have a 1, but if I'm dividing by 1, it's going to get me the same answer. So we're going to divide the numerator by 2, and we're going to divide the denominator by 2. And remember, if you use the T-chart, your answer is right next door. 6 divided by 2 equals 3. 20 divided by 2 equals 10. So my answer is 3/10 of the students. So it would have been H. Okay, you just have to be mindful of that and pay attention to what you're doing. Because if anytime you have a fraction, you always want to reduce it to the simplest terms or all the way. Okay. All right. Last one. I want you to work on this one. The dot plot shows the number of pets that the students in a class own. What fraction of the students in the class have 2 or more pets? 2 or more. So that means we're going to include the number 2. Okay, so 2 or more pets. What you should have done was said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so that's 16 pets, or 16 students have 2 or more pets out of 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Notice I continued, and I counted all of these. So, because we want the total. If 16 own 2 or more, then I have to add these to see who total number of students. So 16 over 24. Well, it's not B because we have to reduce. Because 16 over 24 is an even over an even. So you do a T-chart for 16 and a T-chart for 24. 1 times 16, 2 times 8, and then 4 times 4. 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6. So they both have a 1, they both have a 2, they both have a 4, they both have an 8. Okay, there's a 16 over here, but there's not one over here, so that's all the numbers for this one. So the biggest number they both have in common is the 8. So you're going to divide the numerator and denominator by 8. 16 divided by 8 is 2. 24 divided by 8 is 3. So the answer is 2/3. You should have gotten C. 2/3 of the students have 2 or more pets. Okay? So I'm going to send you some stuff to practice on for dot plots and frequency tables. And then tomorrow we're going to move into a different data table. Okay?